My story of her affair. The author of the post is listed in the description. It was the summer of 2012, and I was away from home driving a tractor trailer over the road OTR, cross-country, while she was at home and working summer school. I hated being away from her and my family, but needed this job to provide for my family. I would call her several times a day just to hear her voice and tell her how much I missed her. In July 2012, she had started the extended school year, ESY, and was assigned a new teacher. The teacher was a younger, 29, male, and she said he was good-looking. She, of course, never told me this, but during discovery, she said this. She said she was impressed by the new teacher's passion for the special needs kids in her class. This was something that she was passionate about as well. She said that as they worked together, he would pass compliments to her about her looking nice or doing something new to her hair. She admitted that she welcomed the compliments and enjoyed them. This puzzled me because I constantly gave her compliments on her looks, especially her hair. They ended up working closely during the ESY, and then school was finished until September. I finished my OTR assignment and was stationed close to home on a dedicated route. This meant I would go out daily and be home at night. While I was home, our relationship seemed normal to me. We had our petty disagreements, but we also had our moments of love and even frequent sex. I had no idea she had formed this relationship with the new teacher, shitbag. She never offered any information about her work, even when I would inquire about her class assignment. September came and she returned to school, and within a week, my youngest sister died. I quit the trucking job and took some time off to clear my head and grieve the loss of my sister. Then, in early October, I took a job out of state as a crane operator. I didn't want to go or take the job, but financially it was the right thing to do, so I thought. I packed up my car and told my family goodbye and let my wife know how much I hated leaving her. Then off to Texas, I went. So while I was away working, she was developing a closer relationship with Shitbag. She said they were friends, and she felt like she could talk to him and confide in him about her personal life. They eventually would meet at the park and talk while she pushed my granddaughter around in the stroller. As time passed and October turned to November, her relationship with Shitbag became sexual. They were in the classroom one day, and he said to her, "We should kiss," and so she did. Just like that, with no thought of her marriage vows, no thought of her husband, and no fear of getting caught in school. The kiss led to the two of them making plans to meet in the mall, Lynn Haven parking lot, after work one day. She said they met and then they had sex in the car while parked in a public lot. She said shortly after this, they then met again in the hospital parking lot, which was adjacent to her school. The events after this have not been clear, even though I've asked numerous times. All I know is that she said they would have sex, she says oral, but we know that's a lie, in the classroom after school. She said they would lock the classroom door and then spend 15 minutes having sex. She said she would then leave and go home, only arriving shortly after her normal arrival time. This helped eliminate any questions from our two daughters who were still at home. This scenario continued until I came home in late November for the Thanksgiving holiday. She swears that she never saw him sexually while I was back in town. While I was home, we had our normal relationship, including the daily I love yous and the sex. The sex was remembered because I had been away and was so excited to be with her again. After the holiday, I left and returned to Texas. She continued to see Shitbag and have sex after school. This continued until late December, when I came home for the Christmas holidays. Once I arrived back home for the Christmas holidays, she again swears that she never had sexual contact with him while I was in town. I was oblivious to any danger to our relationship and had no thought of her being unfaithful to me. While home, we again had, what I thought to be, our normal relationship, with plenty of affection and telling me how she missed me while I was gone. We also had our disagreements and moments of discontent with each other, which to me was normal for us. I made love to her frequently while I was home and ensured she was pleased as well. We took pictures together, smiling happily. We went out together and even attended a New Year's Eve party at one of her coworkers' apartments. I took several pictures of her smiling and looking like she was having a good time. At no point did I suspect that she was screwing another man while I was away. After the holidays, I returned to Texas to continue the job. While away, I called her daily and told her how much I loved her and how deeply I missed her. She always responded in kind to my comments. She never said she wasn't happy or she had found herself attracted to another man. Just the opposite. She would tell me she missed me and would ask when the job was going to be through. I continued to work in Texas until early spring, April, not coming home once after the Christmas holidays. Once the job was through and I returned home in the beginning of April, she again swears that she had no sexual contact with Shitbag while I was home. I hated being away from my family, so I decided to find local crane work. I took a job with a construction company in the local area. This new job allowed me to be home every night and on weekends. While I was home, we had our arguments about normal stuff, but mostly about my drinking. I was going on and off my mental health medication and also self-medicating with alcohol. My mental health medications were being changed and adjusted as the doctor was trying to find the right medicine for my issues. The drinking and the lack of a continuous medication, daily regime contributed greatly to my poor mental health. This resulted in more frequent arguments between her and I. I was angry at myself and didn't like who I was, but couldn't find the right way to emotionally deal with it. I was argumentative and mean to my wife at times. At other times, I was the normal, loving, and caring husband that she deserved. This became our normal cycle after a while. I wish it hadn't been that way, but it's the truth. Meanwhile, she continued her job at school and still maintained a relationship with Shitbag, but was being sexual. It's still not clear whether or not the emotional affair was still active at this point. During the 2013 ESY, Shitbag would periodically ask her to take a ride after school. The purpose of the ride was so he could have sex with my wife. He couldn't use the classroom because ESY was in a different school. She says she always said, "No, my husband's home." Again, she swears that she never had any sexual contact with him while I was home. She should have given a better reason for her denial, like, "No, I'm married and can't do that anymore," or "No, leave me alone, I'm married." But no, she led him to believe it was strictly a no because I was in town, so if I was out of town, what would the answer have been? My local job was finished at the beginning of fall, October, and financially I needed to work. I had been home in April, May, June, July, August, September, and most of October at this point, 7 months. Then I took another crane job out of state. This time the job was in Louisiana and was set to be 4 months. I hated to leave my family, to leave her, and be away from the people that I loved. Nonetheless, the time came for me to leave again, and I left. This time I was gone. November, December, January, and February. I came home for a few days for the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. Again, while home, we had our normal relationship with the hugs and kisses and smiles of "I love you," holding hands while going out to dinner and giving her compliments as usual. Not at any point did she display that she had been or was interested in another man. According to her recollection, the affair fizzled out sometime during the period I was home for 7 months. Again, while I was away, we had daily phone calls and text messages. I even found some "I love you" notes she packed away in my suitcase. I just remember hating each day I was away from her, away from my kids and granddaughter. At times, it was almost unbearable, but I knew I had to stick it out for my family. While I was away, we didn't argue much. For the most part, I was content in my marriage during this period. At the end of February, when the job was over, I went home for a week, and then took a crane job not far from home, but far enough to require me to be away in a hotel again. Given the fact that the new job location wasn't too far, I asked her to come stay in the hotel with me for a day and night. She came, and we had a great time. We talked and held each other and had passionate sex. When the time came for her to leave and go back home, I was crushed. She again left me little love notes, that I still have today, and told me how much she loved me. I still remember this like it was yesterday. Again, she says during this period the affair was over. In March of 2014, I took another local crane job and was once again at home. She continued her job in the school and still saw Shitbag daily in class while I was away. But she says the affair had ended before I left town back in October of 2013. She seems to be unclear about this, but when asked if she had sex with him anymore after my 7-month stay at home in 2013, she said no. I continued to work locally for the next 7 months of 2014. She says Shitbag left the school in July of 2014 and she hasn't seen or talked to him since. This guy was married and he even admitted to her when his wife became pregnant around November of 2013. She knowingly had sex with a married man with no regard for her vows to her husband or the damage she could be causing to his marriage and innocent wife. They both displayed a blatant disregard for anyone other than themselves and their desire for self-gratification. The most hurtful part of this is how she acted, like we had a good marriage and she loved me. The whole time she did this, she was having sex with that shitbag that hurts. How could she mislead me so blatantly and have such a disregard for my feelings? How could she risk our marriage, our family, and even her job over this guy? How was she able to look me in the eye and tell me she loved me or missed me? How was she able to perform so well sexually with me after having recently been with him? What type of person can do this? Why did she choose a guy 16 years younger than herself? When I discovered this at the end of August 2023, I was devastated. She had lied to me all those years that had passed. Even during discovery, she continued to lie. First, she said it was just a kiss, and then she shut it down. Lie. She said they had intercourse one time, and that was it. Lie. Then she said they only had finger play and hand jobs in the classroom. Lie. Later, she says it was all only oral sex in the classroom. I don't believe this either. Later, she admits to having car parking lot sex one more time with him, and she had forgotten about it. A physical affair is pretty significant, and you don't forget having sex in a car while cheating on your husband. She denies ever having feelings for him, but I know her well enough to know that she had some type of emotional connection to this shitbag. Someone just doesn't have sex with another person multiple times for 5 months without having some feelings. Her deceitfulness of leading me to believe that she loved me and missed me while she was screwing him hurts so deeply. But her years of lies and continued lies after discovery are severely damaging to me as well. I have been ripped to shreds and am living in a hellish nightmare, it seems. But it's not a nightmare. It's real. It happened and is still happening. The lies. Nothing in my life has ever hurt as bad as this. I've lost both of my parents, my little sister and a brother, and none of that pain or grief is even close to what I feel over this affair. Nobody has ever hurt me like this before. The one person that I trusted and loved the most is the one who has hurt me the most. The pain was all new to me, and the emotional roller coaster has been hard to navigate. Honestly, in the beginning of discovery, I wanted to die. I wanted the hurt and the physical pain to just stop. My mind was a complete disaster, and my mental health was suffering, to say the least. One day after I learned of the car sex, I went upstairs and took every sleeping pill that I had in my medicines. I then laid on the bed and waited to fall asleep and hopefully never wake up. Obviously, it didn't work because here I am writing this. I had some violent shaking and disorientation, but no never-ending sleep. I knew my mental health was in a dangerous state, and after deep thought, I realized I didn't want to leave her or my family. So I began to seek mental health support by calling the Veterans Crisis Line. A 2-hour conversation on the crisis line and a future appointment for therapy seemed to help give me some hope. I contacted a psychiatrist and made a prompt appointment. I began to read articles on how to navigate a betrayal such as this. I felt this was detrimental to my living or not. I sought mental health care and it pulled me from my suicidal ideation. However, I was still an emotional basket case 24 hours a day. I began praying and reading the Bible for support and comfort. I gave a lot of thought to whether I wanted to stay married to someone like this or not. My mind was filled with all the hurtful things she did to me in order to have her affair. I began to think of all the hurtful and damaging things I had done to her or said to her. Memories of the affair period filled my head. Images and videos of her telling me how much she loved me or missed me would play out in my mind. These images would then be followed by images of her and the shitbag having sex or even kissing. The pain was so great I wanted to die again, but I kept my faith in prayer and continued mental health support. I concluded that she was a different person today than she was during the affair. Our relationship was different as well. We were in love with each other and we both knew it. I struggled at first with the idea of forgiveness, but once I realized that I loved her unconditionally, I chose to forgive her. I chose to release her from the consequences of her hurtful actions to me. But forgiving her didn't wipe the images and thoughts from my mind. I now felt like I should focus on whether or not I should leave the relationship. I thought of all the good times and memories we had together, and I thought of all the pain I put her through. I wasn't justifying her actions, but merely trying to recall the positives of our relationship. I knew I loved her endlessly and that I would be in pain without her. I knew then that I wanted the relationship to work. I still struggled with the images and thoughts each time I considered staying with her. After some deep thought and some time, I decided to work through this travesty and maintain our marriage. After disclosing this to her, I would still struggle as to whether or not I had made the right decision. I began to seek comfort from her. I would simply want her touch to make me feel better. She would smile at me and take me from a severely depressed state to contentment. I sought refuge in the one person who had hurt me more than anyone or anything else in my life. I had conflicting thoughts on this. How could I ever trust this person again? How do I know their love for me is real and not just words? Will I ever be able to look at her the same way that I used to? If not, how can I have a relationship with all these uncertainties? The questions just kept coming to mind, one after another. This became a new battle for me to deal with. I just kept sharing my thoughts and innermost feelings with her and kept praying that I was doing the right thing. I decided to stand firm on my decision to stay in the relationship. I needed advice or answers on how to repair the damage and how to reconnect with my wayward wife. I read numerous articles and even took an online course for affair recovery. The information I gained was helping me understand and navigate this difficult situation. I read books on how to heal, or how to realize how the affair possibly could have started. I began to focus on reconciliation. The information available was overwhelming, but I committed the time and effort into my endeavor. As time slowly passed, I could see the healing taking place little by little. There would be days that were unbearable to get through, but I kept on reading and acting upon my newfound information. I began to be hopeful that we would have our relationship back to where it was or better. During this period, I had an immense feeling of love for her. It felt like I was in love with her again for the first time. All I thought about was her. All I wanted was to be next to her, to hold her hand or simply gaze into her eyes. I remember thinking, wow, this is what real love feels like. I was wanting the same from her, but didn't feel like my love was being reciprocated. This left me confused and wondering, how could she not love me after what I just did? I just gave her the gift of forgiveness and chose to stay with her when almost everything was saying to leave the relationship. Does she not love me as much as I love her? I was stuck on this thought. I began to write her letters almost daily. Letters describing my deep love for her. Letters describing how I forgave her for what she did to us. I even wrote her a story of the first time we met up to the point of our first kiss. I was desperate to show her how serious my love was for her. I probably looked like a fool or a schoolboy by all my efforts to woo her. I did an exercise with her to find each other's love language. I learned that everything I did to show my love for her was nice, but it wasn't speaking in her specific love language. She views love as me doing acts of service for her. Washing the dishes, cooking dinner, vacuuming the floors, or unloading the dishwasher were acts that showed her I loved her. I took chores off her plate and she interpreted that as me showing her my love for her. On the flip side, my love language was mostly physical touch or affection. This new revelation was vital to me expressing my love for her. As time passed, we became closer through our signs of love and intimate conversations again. I felt empowered learning this new information. I kept telling myself that I was ready to re-engage in bedroom intimacy again. So we tried, and I had several setbacks. The mind videos and intrusive thoughts made it almost impossible to touch her in any way sexually without thinking of her and him together. Once again, the questions began to swirl in my mind. Did she do this with him? Did she make these noises with him? Is she being authentic right now, or is she pretending for my sake? Does she even think I'm attractive? The questions were almost endless. I had hit another roadblock. Sex was vital in my mind to a healthy relationship. It allowed me to connect with her on a closer level, and at times was almost a spiritual connection. I knew how much I desired her and how emphatically I enjoyed her touch, but the mind images kept preventing me from being able to perform. I would try and then want to cry right in the middle of it. I would then have to apologize to her for my failure. I felt like less of a man. My self-esteem was already at the 0 level, but now I was feeling less than 0. I felt, and still do, that she is not physically attracted to me. I see no desire from her to want to be with me physically. I take into consideration her current physical status of menopause and the decreased libido that accompanies it. But this hurdle is one of the most difficult ones to solve. How can I ever make love to my wife again while I have the images of that shitbag screwing my wife? So that's my story of my wife's affair and how I am dealing with it. Did I deserve this hurt, the lies, and the betrayal? No one deserves this type of hurt from the one person they felt safe with, from the person they trusted with their thoughts and feelings, or from the one person in the world that you would never think of doing this to. Nothing in our or her past justifies what she did. She made the conscious decision to throw our marriage away and risk our family. This was all on her, and I told her that. I see guilt and shame on her face when we discuss this topic. It pains me to see her hurting, even though she created the hurt. I hurt for her even on top of my existing pain from her actions. I want all the hurt to go away from her, to go away from us, and to allow us to move forward. I've read that I need to grieve my old relationship and focus on a new one. It's extremely difficult to let go of all the years that she and I have had together, good and bad. Our relationship is supposed to start all over again and build trust and foster love and our connection to each other. I am trying my best to follow the steps of reconciliation. She's trying too. I can see her efforts. However, at times I feel like she gets discouraged and then slacks off. I think she wants us to just move past the whole affair already. I get that too. I wish the whole thing was behind us and the thoughts and memories didn't exist today. So where are we today in our relationship? I think we both still want the best outcome and are trying to achieve this. I see where we both have grown in this new relationship, and I see areas we've reconnected on as well. We are both seeking marriage counseling and support from therapy. We need to find the why of the affair. I need to know the how of the affair. We are both looking for answers during our marriage counseling sessions. Where do I see us in the future? I have faith that we'll work through this and come out better than before. I truly believe this is possible. I can see her attempts to rebuild trust again. It'll take some time and serious work on her part, but this too is possible. How has this changed me? It destroyed my faith in her. It has caused me to withdraw from friends and family. I'd just rather be alone most times. It has shamed me and emasculated me. I feel less of a man and inadequate to her. I've lost some of my self-respect and most of my self-esteem. It's made me open my eyes to the world of what is really out there in terms of selfishness. I knew people could be careless and hurtful, but never once imagined my wife could do something so heinous. It completely changed the image I had of her. I now know what she's capable of. I had such a virtuous image of her that is forever tarnished. This event has taught me to renew my faith in God. I now know just how far hurt can go. How do I feel after writing this? It feels like I got a lot of thoughts out of my mind. I actually feel better, like I've told someone my story and they can understand my feelings. How do you like this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.